Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Roblox World War II Community Podcast. I'm your host for today, Chillin5829, and today we have a special guest coming on for our first officer podcast, BloodyWaters. Say hello.
Hello.
Sadly, we don't have any of the other co-hosts on because they are busy, so it's just going to be a one-on-one interview. If you have any questions of what we do, of what we're on about, and what this podcast is about, it's in the description below. If you think you can come on the podcast, let us know. And as always, our link to our Discord server is in the description below. So without further ado, let's get into the questions. All right, so, Bloody, when did you join Roblox, and how did you get involved in the World War II community?
February of 2009, so we're coming up on 10 years. So it's a little bit, and World War II community, I was kind of just clicking around on some games. It's before groups came out, so there weren't any groups. People were recruiting in game, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And those people ended up turning out to be Eric and Louis Otto. And I was in cahoots with them ever since. So I joined.
What group was it that you first joined?
I probably joined this group. It was a small group that nobody remembers called the German Resistance. And we basically, I guess the whole premise was that we were German resistance fighters or something like that. But that was before everybody went Germany good. And that was before Lewis started the IRM. And everybody was kind of chilling. We were best pals. There's not a whole lot to it.
Are there any other notable groups you joined in the beginning of the community?
The only other one I could think of would be the IRM.
See, I wasn't really around for that time, though. So when people, tell me about IRM days and stuff like that, about how it's the good old days, and how it was, wasn't it, the largest German group back then?
It was pretty much large. It was, similar to, I guess, VAC in popularity, the AK or whatever it is. So it's, kind of the go-to. There were the allied groups, which I forgot were around at the time, and then it was basically one group. It was Lewis's group. It was the only German group that was around at the time. It's like the go-to if anybody wanted to join and get involved in the community. It's kind of less of a community and more of a people just kind of found each other through playing games and word of mouth.
The beginning days of the community.
Like the beginning, and everybody was 11, so that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I remember when I first joined Axis groups and whatnot. That was the first go-to I went to because it spread, like you said, word of mouth in some of my other groups. Like, oh, hey, you should check out this. I think it was it wasn't War District. It was Excellion. Yeah, Excellion.
Mm.
And his soldiers came over and were at our base, and then they were talking about it, and then I checked it out and I joined them.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool way to get involved in the community.
Besides Lewis and Eric, were there any other people who heavily influenced you in the community to be what you are today?
Yeah, but they no longer play. It's kind of funny. Everybody, there's a kind of a big drop off. I guess nobody plays anymore. They lasted a couple years. I don't think anybody would know their names. One's Batoli 650 was a huge contributor to the community back then, super huge, but he's no longer around. It's the only other person that I've been really close with who's an influence. Yeah, not very many people, no. And at the same time, it's kind of funny, the people that were leading these groups were all friends with each other. It was just kids hanging out, so I ended up being best friends with Lewis and Eric, and we kind of just stuck together tight. There wasn't too much else going on.
Huh. I mean, after all these years, you've just been with them?
Yeah, pretty much. There's not too many people that I'm tight-knit with, super close, that other than them, because I still talk to Eric and Lewis, not so much. But, I guess big influence are the only ones that have outlasted all the other guys, all the other groups that have been around, banned, whatever, making comebacks.
I mean, I can kind of understand that. I've always been with the same friend group for quite some time now in the community, so it doesn't shock me too much. for someone who's been so long, like who's been around so long. But
Yeah,
anyways, do you know how many groups in total you've served under in the community?
I think at least I want to say at least 15.
15.
At least 15. There's got to
At
be at
least.
least 15.
Because I was about to say 15 groups. I mean, people can go through groups in like a month with like 5 of them, from what I fucking see nowadays.
No, yeah, and I guess when I answer that, I mean groups that have really dedicated some time to. Really
Okay. I
dedicated
was about to
themselves to
say
it.
like, because
Not
I'm
like
counting
hop in, hop
everything
out.
here.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Um, that I was in for at least like 5 or 6 months and got to know people. But that's the other thing. I was usually really dedicated with groups because people that own them, again, I'm close with. I don't think I've ever. It's gonna make me sound a little entitled, but I've never like enlisted in a group. I've never. I've always been at least like medium high rank.
Same.
Uh, yeah. So that's the flip side of the coin. I don't know the other side.
When I first joined Axis community and like just community overall on Roblox, uh, I immediately just started ranking up, like with an MR, just because I either had a good relationship with the leader before I joined, or they just appointed me to be something for one reason or
Definitely
another.
relatable. Definitely relatable. Yeah.
So I'm sorry for all those people who slunk through their ranks, but just natural selection there.
Yeah, it's a tough road.
Do you know any other officers who've you kind of been friends with throughout these groups?
I would say if we're not counting owners or big group leaders or anything like that, I would definitely say one of my friends is Mega Pickle One.
Oh, I remember him from Lure.
Yeah, he was one of the. It's like he's close with Eric 28 and I. He started a couple of his own groups that didn't really get off the ground too well, like Gross Deutschland. They're a little popular. Definitely a cool dude. Still around, still hanging around. Not doing too much these days, but kind of clicking the play button. Not getting too involved with the community anymore, like me. Other people, it's kind of hard to think of. I don't, I kind of live under a rock. I only hang out with close group of people, but all the friends I would say from Lair, officers like John Kohler, who's big in the World War II community. I think he's starting the Africa Corps again. The original owner of the Africa Corps, Desert Fox, good friends with him. Those are people I would say that I know pretty well. I'm comfortable with.
What type of responsibilities and roles have you been appointed in your various groups?
Well, it's funny. It's tie into that other answer that I've always been kind of at least a medium or high rank is usually leadership positions. Less on the ground and more of a face for most groups that I join. Talking with whether it's kind of like foreign diplomacy, making friends with people, talking to them with other groups, helping alliances get along and whatnot. And that's something I still do today because most people know me. They know me and very nice to me. They know that I'm a pretty cool guy. So building relationships is mainly what I do in the community or what I've done. And most groups have a colonel or general rank, and I'm sitting right there. I'm usually second or third in command.
Interesting. So, like, have you been any, like, besides foreign affairs, like, head of any divisions or departments, like, armored or, like, I guess secret police, but they're not really secret if they're a group?
Yeah, it's a not really secret if they're a huge group. No. I haven't really been in charge of any specific departments. It was more of a general positions that I held, mostly dealing with administrative affairs. Doing stuff behind the scenes. I've never been a guy that's really out there and up front or heading any specific department like armored. That was kind of a general job, especially in Lair, because it's It's
Alert is
an
really
armored
alert
division.
division, yeah.
Yeah, you would think there'd be somebody in charge of the tanks, but it was just a general general position. Everybody in a leadership position could pitch in and do stuff here and there. But it's kind of funny to think about everything that I've done, all the time I put in, and I'm like, man, I can't come up with a solid answer on that. No.
Well, sometimes I feel like in in officer corps, you have to have basic infantry officers who just
Oh yeah.
help around. Because if you have everybody specialized, they're too busy focusing on their divisions rather than the actual army itself, which runs off of those divisions.
Yeah, it gets a little messy. Yeah, the only thing I can think of was training infantry and tanks when we first started Lair, because we didn't have anybody that we knew that was capable of running a group or being a high rank, doing this and that. And so I pitched in there. Is the only thing I could think of.
All right. What has been your relationship with some of the leaders you've served under?
Very close. Very close and very personal with the people I've served under. Which are only about three people. One was being Lewis for the IRM in those times, and all of his other multiple groups that have come up since then. Lair with Eric, we all started out as friends, and the only other person I've really served under was I can't think of his name right now. It was originally the RSSR. He was the premier.
Fuck.
Vasilyev.
Yeah.
No, not the original owner, but one of the big ones.
Vasilyev?
He was War District, I think.
Yeah, okay, that is Vass. That's Vass.
Okay, yeah, that's Vass. Yeah. There's the only people I've actually served under and answered to specifically. It was a very, very close relationship. I'm big on friendships and being a close guy, which is why I get to the positions I do. It's kind of a trust built up between us.
So Nah, never mind. All right. So next question here. So, is there any reason that you prefer? Because after looking at your group record, like, is there any reason that you like German groups or Axis related groups?
I thought about that myself because I look back at some of the groups and I'm like, man, these are all these are all Axis. It might look bad.
I'm not saying it's bad.
No. There's no real reason, and the only reason I don't mean it's bad because it's Axis. I mean it's bad probably because I don't expose myself to other parts of the community as well. I don't like feeling closed-minded. But I got into a group of friends or people that I was comfortable with, and I never left. Once you build up a certain amount of repertoire between people, and you're getting all these ranks, you're getting handed these ranks and positions, and you're like, man, this is nice. I can get used to this. You don't want to go and start over, I guess.
Well, that's fair enough because nobody likes. Because you know that if you do go to different groups, like you could do more to help them rather than just be a foot soldier.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Especially when you get to that level and you kind of have a resume and you're like, I could help out, And I did look into starting a couple allied groups. There was 10th Armored, I know I mentioned in the group records, with Desert Fox, who started the Africa Corps, but that never really got off the ground. Didn't catch much of a following.
Well, I guess it's a lot harder to start allied groups in the same sense of Axis groups because you have like IRM and all of Lewis's base groups, as well as various other people who try to copy Lewis, but he's always tried to make it a German group, but also have some sort of fictional idea along with it. And it makes it unique. It makes it worth coming and like being active in a way.
Yeah, people are just drawn to that for some reason, and I can't blame them.
But then you look over at all the allied groups, and then they're all like historical based, like Allied Airborne, and then like SHAEF, USM. The only recent ones we've seen nowadays is kind of like United North American Republic with John.
Oh yeah.
How do you think other notable figures of the community view you and your reputation as an officer?
Most of them probably think I'm a pretty silly guy. Not necessarily a troll, but they probably think I'm stupid, just because I act silly. I just act out. I'm a very unique individual. Most of these people are stone-faced and solemn, especially when it comes to the Axis side of all these groups. They're very serious. They walk around with the monocle and that little at ease tool all the time. They're very, very strict. I don't like that. I like to flow. I like things to flow well.
See, you say that, but I've been a part of the Allied community for years now, and I have seen the exact same bullshit with all the Soviet groups and all the American groups where they just do that shit.
Maybe it's maybe it's transitive. I don't know, but I don't. Maybe people don't do it in public. Maybe they don't do it in public, but
I know when you say you're unique, I mean I've seen some pretty quote unquote unique shit with primarily Japan. Japan has always been the black sheep to me because I just go into their facilities and they just do random shit.
I love it. I'd be willing to do that in a heartbeat.
Like I can tolerate like stupidity and like goofing off for a while, but then if your entire chain of command does it, I can't be bothered with it.
No, I definitely understand. That's
But next question here. How do you view some of the mainstream World War II groups out there today? And have you been in any, and have your responsibilities changed at all over the years?
Notable groups out there today. I can't think of the names off the top of my head, but I know that
Lord Karavich regime is the new thing.
Okay, I got you.
RM 1940s, IRF, UNAR, like I just mentioned. Whatever the fuck Nerfer's up to nowadays.
Oh, that I don't even know. And when I said I lived under a rock, I still do. Like I get the idea of all these groups coming out and they've got these regimes and the families and the names and whatnot. But that's where things for me start to get a little not weird but different. I just can't follow it. I'm not a huge fan of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of dynasty-based groups either.
Yeah, but as far as the groups go, I think it's great that people are involved and are getting the activity. But some things I can't agree with. These new groups, especially with these leaders that come out, some of them seem a little extremist one way or another. And I don't want to comment too much, but I just don't agree or align myself with them.
Like extremism in the sense of ideology?
Ideology, yeah, pretty much.
Because like I was about to say, like, I mean, you also have the extremists who are just out there for just fucking money-based shit.
Yeah, I guess I can see that, but the money-based groups, especially the big money grabbers and makers, like who did that Italian group a while ago? Was the oh well, that's how old I'm getting. I can't even remember the name.
It's just a one big blur of bullshit to you.
It was Bavaria. It's one big blur of stuff. Yeah, now, I gotta respect that, but I'm not a big supporter of that kind of stuff either, because I'm in it for the fun. I'm not in it for the money. When I say I want the community together, I guess I just want people doing it for fun.
The way I view it, I guess, is that sometimes, not necessarily with money, because I don't understand how you think making money is fun. It's just you need money, and that's just income based. But I guess some people like having fun when they drive ideologies to the extreme, or like they try and like make things personal and get really involved in it, because I've seen that a lot happen nowadays.
Oh, definitely. That's how big conflicts come up, like between Nerfer and Lewis and that whole fiasco.
It's not a game anymore.
It's not a game. We're taking this into the real world.
That's when I think it goes too far. It's when you start involving people's personal lives in this shit.
Oh yeah. Start grabbing their Facebooks and their locations and doxing people. That's when it gets a little too far.
A little out of hand. Just a little, not illegal or anything like it clearly is, but you know.
Oh no, it's just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But speaking of Nerfer and Lewis, we'll start with Nerfer here. But how have you viewed his ideas and his quote unquote allied cause toward the community as a whole?
I think it's great. I think there's no negative messages from what I've seen. Maybe I haven't seen enough, but I just think it's. I gotta adjust myself in my chair here. All right, here we go.
Are you adjusted?
All right. I'm adjusted. I'm adjusted.
All right. So no real comments on that then.
So no real comments. Just a general kind of just a general meh. I think it's good what he's doing. I think any kind of activity is good, especially these days. But as far as ideas go, I know he can be a little serious when it comes to, I guess, when you view Roblox as a game. But otherwise,
game.
it's not a game. Yeah, but no super critical comments, I'd have to say.
And how do you view more or less Louis Sato's ideas towards the Axis community and his quote unquote Axis cause?
I would say just because I know that side of the coin a little better, I would be a little critical and say that it's kind of toxic, and I don't like it very much. I don't appreciate that being out there in the community. I know that there are some things from both sides that I don't like, but just knowing that better.
Are there like any specific things you would critique on, or?
It's I guess it's the whole bringing ideology into a game and actually trying to spread it kind of thing. And after you've been banned, 5 or 6 times, maybe it's time to get the hint. get the hint and get out.
Maybe, but speaking of politics and ideology, are you personally politically motivated on Roblox, and do you think politics being involved in Roblox is a positive thing?
I'm not politically motivated at all in the game. I'm just out there doing it for fun, and because in my spare time I like to game. I'm a recreational guy on plenty of levels, but politics involved on Roblox in Roblox groups being a positive thing, I think, to a certain extent. Like you have when you have strictly role-playing groups speaking outside of the World War II community, when you have role-playing groups like United States of America, and people have their own little system and they vote for office and they have cities and they're organized, there's no issues. That's pretty cool. People are doing it because it's a hobby and it's a game, it's fun. But as soon as you add into the equation weapons and violence, even though it's in a game, people tend to take it a little more seriously and start flaming each other, and I just think it's a little toxic, and I personally don't think it's a positive thing. Could it be? Yes, but due to the nature of the way things are, I don't think it'll ever get there. I think it's a bad thing.
Because of the current state of the community, more or less?
Just because of the current state. That's what I'm basing all of my words off of.
I mean,
yeah.
Because when I think of politics and stuff, like, wasn't St. Paul, like, with politics and shit, and they were around, like, in the beginning of the community. They weren't as bad as what's happening, like, now. As far as I know.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. That was pretty all right. That was cool. And then now we can't have nice things.
Well, somebody has to ruin it one way or another eventually.
No. I guess that's the way the cookie crumbles.
How do you feel if other groups that you've been in, or like groups that you'll be in the future, start getting politically driven or motivated? Would you take actions against it, or would you endorse it if you see it being a positive?
Depending on how close I am with the group or community leaders at the time, I think I'll bring it to their attention. I'll always try to bring attention to it first and say, look, this is the way I see things heading, and here are my comments and here are my advice, and hopefully they listen. And then we can agree on a positive outcome in a way. We don't just want to let things run wild and run their course on their own. If we could control things and make sure it's headed in a positive direction, sure. But letting people run amok and do this and that, no, I don't think it's a good thing. Then when things become driven in that sense and people start hating each other and taking things way too seriously, I'd separate myself from that situation.
You just like leave, or just not really
Yeah,
getting involved in it.
yeah. I mean, if I've offered my help or my advice, and I'm leaving before that bridge burns on its own. I'm crossing the bridge and letting it burn.
So, with all this in mind, where people start taking the game seriously, where, doxing and all this shit happens, I mean, we can agree that the community in and of itself right now is a bit more teenager focused and quote unquote mature in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is your stance on Roblox, at least outside of our community here, being more kid friendly orientated? Because I've seen a lot of stuff on the main page be more kid focused, like Roblox High School and whatnot, like adopt and raise a baby and all that type of stuff. Like, what do you think that idea and that mentality means for the future of the World War II genre?
As a platform overall, I think it's great because it reminds me of me being, a kid more or less, and going on and exploring these new things. And oh, there's this multiplayer website, and I have a character, and I can do whatever I want. There's a bunch of games, I can create whatever I want. It brings Roblox back to its base. What they originally advertised. You can do anything, build anything, be anything. That was great to me as a kid, and I love it. And I like to see that people are active now, and there's a bunch of little ones out there playing. And as far as the World War II community is involved, I think it's great because there's a potential player base to pull from. If and when we want to do that. And I'm, when I are or toward our community, and when I say our community, I know it's just a bunch of it's kind of separated. A lot of people don't like each other, but I think there is a community for everyone that does talk and communicate with each other. I think it's great that we have, again, a player base to pull from, and if we could include them somehow in our community, whether that's more town groups or things like that, I think it'd be great.
All right. So you try to make it towards it's a more positive note than what some group
Yeah.
leaders have said on the platform here or on the podcast.
Definitely more positive note. Definitely, I'm a guy that likes to see everyone included. I don't like to exclude anybody. I understand there are certain frustrations that come with people that can't grasp certain concepts or do certain things, but there's always a place for them, and I think that we should work to have a better handle on that.
Do you believe that the genre as a whole has since improved since you first joined the community?
In one way, yes. In another way, no. In one way, it's yes, as far as um, just a general aspect of the game, building, scripting, and all that stuff is improved, and it's a lot more enjoyable to play things. You're running around with an actual rifle in a game instead of a brown brick, and it's a little more immersive. And that's just Roblox as a whole, and the users on it becoming more experienced with what they're doing. On the other hand, as far as the actual groups go, no, I don't like the way it's gone at all. It's gotten to the point where anybody can throw some Robux together, some money, um, a group, and then do whatever they want because people are willing to join something that's active, and they can push whatever kind of ideology they want. They can. I think it's generally when I'm talking about that stuff, it's negative stuff like flame wars and doxing and people's personal lives. That's the biggest thing that stands out to me, and I absolutely hate it.
Understandable, because I mean there are a lot of times where I considered joining certain groups when I was younger, but I knew at that time that they were kind of more politically focused. Because a part of the reason why I joined some of the groups, like the Soviet community, was because I wanted to know more about what those people were. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I wanted to be that ideology or that I wanted to follow that ideology.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like one of the main reasons why I don't join some of the mainstream German groups is because whether some like it or not, there are officers who have pushed their ideology on kids and on newcomers. And that doesn't just go for the German groups. It can go for the Soviets, like I just said, and the Americans and all the rest. It gets extremely frustrating when you're only there just to understand what's going on.
No, definitely. And then you end up getting typecast as the bad guy, more or less. You know, you're in with the rest of them. Guilt by association.
Yeah, if you're not with us, you're against us, sort of bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just here to fucking play a game. I don't know what you're on about.
I'm just here to play the game.
I'm just here to play a game.
Oh, you don't like us? We're gonna dox you. We're gonna harass you.
Yeah, we're just gonna make sure that you're not relevant any way whatsoever, and then leak all of your personal information.
You are blacklisted from the community.
You are excommunicated. That's my.
You are out. You are cast out.
That's my
sir.
favorite word nowadays, excommunicated, because everybody tries to brand you as like nobody's allowed to talk to you anymore. But like the one or two friends that you do talk to still talk to you.
That's great. I don't have any friends to lose, so I guess that's a good thing.
But lastly here, if given the opportunity, what are some things that you would want to change to make the Roblox platform as a whole better for everybody?
Better for everybody, everyone, as far as the whole website, like not just the community.
Yeah, the Roblox platform.
I guess, you know what, I know there are things that can and can't be fixed, just due to human nature. But I think you're always going to have toxic people. They're going to find a way to break things for everyone. But I definitely think that they need to work on a better approach for some of the things that have gone awry, like the filtering system. I can't even say anything now. I can't even say the word French in game. Do you know that? I can't.
No.
I can't say certain things that would be, totally applicable in a certain situation, but just can't.
I feel like when you start censoring numbers is when you get a problem, because every time when I try and do like countdowns and stuff for raids and whatnot, they censor it after a short while.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I mean,
kind of annoying.
I guess it's supposed to be a smart system, but it just gets worse.
Yeah, no, it's
gotten
extremely worse.
Yeah. It's one of the things I would definitely focus on, because the game is, I hate to be one of those guys, but it is literally unplayable.
Well, I mean, it's not unplayable in the sense of like you can play the game, but you just can't talk to anybody in the game. And there are certain games on Roblox that kind of insist that you communicate.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily mind this if they continued to remove Discord from the filtering system and like actually stop people from censoring like the tags and like the coding for it. What they did with social links, because that way, at least if you can't talk in game, you can talk on a platform.
No, definitely agree, 100%. I mean, I would also say, yeah, if you can't talk to anybody, just bring guests back.
I don't think they're gonna bring those back soon.
No, it's a sad time.
Very sad.
Very, very sad.
All right, so that is just about the amount of time we have left here for the podcast. I'd like to thank BloodyWaters for coming on here and testing out our Officer podcast. As said in the video, or at the start of the video, links are found accordingly, information, etc., etc. And hope you guys enjoyed listening, tuning in, etc., etc. And we'll see you in the next podcast.